I pledge to stay drug-free.
I plan to stay drug-free.
I pledge to stay drug-free.
I pledge to be drug-free.
I pledge to stay drug-free.
And good afternoon. Welcome to Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and you are to be enlightened by my special guest today, who's going to talk about healthcare. So we haven't talked about healthcare in a few weeks. So, with the pandemic, we want to definitely make sure that we get an opportunity to address some issues, that's going on in the healthcare field, especially with the healthcare facilities that are out here. Our show is live, and we're sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun News. And if you'd like to call into the show, you can call into the show at area code 313-868-0342, 0351 or 868-4331. And our website is www.tv33whpr.com. And you're watching us on WHPS channel 15.2 in the awesome cities of Detroit under the Honorable Mayor Mike Duggan, and the great city of Highland Park, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Hubert Yap, Mayor. Now, if you want to call in, please make sure you have your phones put off the speakerphone mode, because that'll have a little reverb on those as well. But just wanted to say, I wanted to say that I really saw a lot of people going down to Belle Isle, whoever that was, that put that memorial for all of the persons that may have made their transition due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I really tip my hat off to, that person or the team that put that together. I haven't been down there yet, but everybody that I know that has gone down there and seen the tribute to, I believe it's about 600 people that they have pictures of. So if you get a chance, I would ask you to go down there and don't miss that, especially if you've had a loved one or another, individual that that made their transition due to the COVID-19. But it's a very, very poignant testament to a lot of great people. And also, too, just want to say, too, I was real shocked when I saw the transition of Chadwick Boseman. The other people know him from a lot of different roles that he played, from Jackie Robinson to James Brown. But I think a lot of young people knew him from the role that he played for the Black Panther. And he was, a very young man, only 43 years old. He died from colorectal cancer. So again, I just want to, ask all of our men to make sure that you go and get tested, and especially a lot of the black men, because it seems like that's the cancer that is prevalent more so in black men today. So I do ask you also to make sure, don't wait for the ladies to go and ask you, have you been to the doctor to get tested? Men, take it upon yourselves, go get tested. Again, I do want to thank Mr. R.J. Watkins and Henry Tyler for allowing us this half an hour to spend with you today and every Tuesday from 2:30 to 3 o'clock. But I've got a special guest today, and I'll probably say this. I say this about most of my guests. She probably doesn't need any introduction, probably for the 2 or 3 people that might not know who she is. I will say who she is so that you can look up and it's like, oh, that's who that is. I know I've seen her before. But my special guest today is the Assistant State Long-Term Care Ombudsman. Say that word, Ombudsman. And her name is Dakima Jackson. Dakima, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you, Darwin.
I just wanted to ask a couple of questions. Tell a little bit about what is a ombudsman. What does an ombudsman do? I mean, that's one of those big words that a lot of people they hear it, but they don't know quite exactly what an ombudsman does. What do they do?
So, ombudsman is a Swedish term for advocate. So, ombudsman is a person that advocates for residents in long-term care services, long-term care ombudsman. So that's what we do. And an advocate is the person that speaks out for the person that needs help or have any concerns or questions about their care in a long-term care facility, and it must be licensed as a nursing home, adult foster care home, or homes for the aged.
Okay. Now, talk to me about what's going on as far as, say, because with the pandemic that has occurred, there's a lot of, people's loved ones that are in, the home care, facilities and the nursing homes. What are some of the protocols now that the state has put in practice for persons to go visit their loved ones who may be in a nursing facility?
So visitations are very, very, very limited. Actually, there is no in-person visitation for families. So if a person wants to visit their loved one, there must be a specific guidance that they must follow. So say, for instance, you have someone that says, I want to go visit my mom and see how she's doing. Window visits are allowed at this time.
You say window visits?
Window visits, correct.
Explain that.
Window visits, because we're in a pandemic and the COVID-19, and nursing homes have been hit so hard that I think everyone is doing everything that they can to protect the residents, but also try to make it open where families can visit. So window visits is basically your loved one is at the window, and most families will go to the window and have signs out. Sometimes they have what's called for a lack of a better word, baby monitors in the room, and to communicate with their loved one. Or sometimes the person have a cell phone that they can communicate, but it's to reduce the risk of the spread as much as possible.
So when you're saying the window, they can actually go into the nursing home facility?
No.
They're doing this from outside?
From outside, absolutely.
So, my next question is going to be, so when the weather gets really inclement, what happens then?
So there is virtual visits as well. So virtual visits is any type of electronic communication that's set up, FaceTime, Skype, anyway, Zoom, that a family can set up with a nursing home administrator, staff, or social worker to be able to talk to their loved one and make accommodations. So that should be done if an outside visit cannot be done. So a virtual visit is the next opportunity.
So they can still get an opportunity to go and speak to or communicate with their loved one. Now, is there any opportunity in terms of, say, with the residents that are in the nursing homes, what type of protocols are set with them? I mean, do they get tested regularly for the virus? Do they check the temperatures? What do they do for the residents there?
So if there's any onset of a COVID positive person, staff and residents must be tested weekly until there is no COVID positive residents in the facility. And so as soon as it's suspected, then the testing starts over again. So, or if there's any symptoms, everyone has to be tested, and the nursing home must do evaluations and temperature checks and all of those things on a regular basis. So it's the regular vitals as well, but the testing itself only if there is a positive COVID case. But back in a couple months ago, that's when the baseline testing started to see where the nursing homes were in terms of how many residents who may be positive, and also the staff who might be positive. But every person going into the nursing home, as far as staffing, must have a health screening before they enter work.
Okay, so now the employees of the nursing home,
yes,
they must be, how often should they get tested, or are they tested? You know, and then also what are the protocols? So when they come in, are they the temperature checked, or
They're
what
getting
are
the
the
temperature
protocols done with them?
Absolutely. So they're getting the temperature checks. They have to state if they have had any symptoms. As far as the weekly testing of COVID, that's just done weekly. But the health screenings is done every day, like every shift.
Okay. And so now, when if the nursing person leaves out the building and comes back in, all that protocol is still has to be put back in place to
Absolutely.
check the temperature, things like that.
Yes, and there's a 14-day quarantine that the residents must go through. And they have to be separated from the general population. So just in case a onset of symptoms may arise, that person won't expose the rest of the group.
So have they put out any mandates in terms of saying on how long this may continue to occur, that people cannot actually touch their loved ones or cannot actually, have that interaction with them?
So there is limited in terms of visitation. So if a resident or a person's loved one is on hospice, they can visit with that person. If the resident needs help with some sort of activities of daily living, but that have to had happened before March 14th, which means a person who may just say a person visited with their loved one and they were helping to their loved one eat before dinner and or while dinner or lunch, and they can contact the nursing facility administrator or a social worker and say, hey, I was helping my mom around right after before March 14th, and so is there any way that I can help her? And the resident must have like a significant decline. So if that person is at risk for weight loss, anything that would impair that person's health condition or decrease that person's health condition, then the family could call the nursing home administrator to gain access. But again, it's very limited and it's up to the provider.
So now, explain, because I know I was looking at the news this morning and I saw I think a situation where there was someone who came up missing in one of the nursing facilities, and I think they found this person who had been deceased. Is that a common occurrence, or what went wrong with that situation?
It's not common, but what we have heard is staffing is very short in some places, and so it could be
due to the virus.
Due to the
okay.
virus. So it could be an oversight of the facility. They should have had some monitoring in place for that person. Every resident have a right to have a care plan and a care conference as well. So that should have been happening, and there's emergency protocols that should happen, which is called rounding on every shift to make sure all the residents are accounted for.
You say it's called rounding?
Yeah, that's with the staff. So they'll meet, the nurses and the CNAs will go to each person's room and check and make sure that that person is available.
Now, are the nursing homes, they're all under state mandate?
All nursing homes have to be licensed, and currently they are under, state mandate in terms of the COVID and what they should be providing.
So what are some of the things that when somebody from the state comes to or goes to a nursing facility, what's their checklist, or what are the things that they're looking to make certain that nursing home is doing that is what they're supposed to be doing?
So licensing and regulatory affairs is the entity that people call the state. So every nursing home have to have an annual inspection, and also there's complaints that is also made through that particular agency. And so when they go in, they're looking at health and safety issues. They're talking with the residents. They're talking with the administrators to find out what's happening and what's going on. What are some of the measures, the quality of life measures? Some of those things could be wound care. Some of those things could be falls. They look at everything from the food department to the maintenance department to the nursing services and try to figure out, are folks getting the quality of care they should be getting? And if not, then that's when the surveyors who will determine, okay, things are not happening, and so they take that decision and move that up the chain through licensing and regulatory affairs to figure out if this nursing home should be cited or not. And citation means either they can receive a monetary penalty, or most often they may receive a written notification in terms of what the surveyors found in that.
But you say
facility.
so they come every year, so it's done annually.
It's annually.
Is there, so they get checked once a year, just once a year?
That's for the license and certifications.
Okay. Now, when you have a complaint, and like you said, there could be a penalty of a fine, or it could be something a little bit more harsher. So now, if the resident that's in there is complaining about not getting the care or not getting their medication, or or they may have fallen or something like that, what normally, because sometimes it's sad when you see some of the things that happen on the news, where you see loved ones that may have been neglected, or they get out of the facility and they're wandering around outside the facility. What measures do the nursing homes have to keep somebody from getting out of the facility, or then going undetected? Or if you're walking by, as you say, doing the rounding, and you walk by and you don't see a person in that bed, wouldn't that bring an alert or an alarm to somebody to say, wait a minute, there's a bed check, this person's not here? What protocols are taking place then at that point when they see that somebody is missing?
Well, it should be reported. It should be an incident report that goes into the licensing and regulatory affairs. But before it gets there, they should contact their administrator and corporate folks, and as well as licensing and regulatory affairs, to say that this person is missing. So nursing homes are not a prison, and so folks can go in and out. COVID, kind of make it a little bit more challenging, but residents can go out and visit with folks, but usually they will let the administrator know that I'm going out with family and I'll come back. And even during COVID, folks can go out into the community with family, but that is not always the case. Some nursing homes are not doing that, but the regular protocol is that they should be contacting the family members as well if that person is not in the bed or where they're supposed to be, or they can't find them, and contacting the guardian or legal representative.
Now, what are the different types of nursing care facilities? I know I see some that say assisted living. What are the different types? And then describe what the patients, what their care should be, or what type of, how their functioning may be in those facilities.
So long-term care has a wide spectrum of nursing facilities, healthcare facilities. So nursing homes is one, right? So they provide 24-hour care, and they usually will provide a licensed nurse on staff, registered nurse, or LPN, and they are regulated by the state. In terms of assisted living, we have what's called here in Michigan licensed homes for the aged. Assisted living is a marketing term. So just because it is called assisted living David's home doesn't mean that it's licensed. So folks would have to contact licensing and regulatory affairs to find out if they're licensed, as well as adult foster care homes. So adult foster care homes are small. Usually they're called group homes, and they may or may not be licensed. And so
You say they may or may not be licensed.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And so it's a choice. Nursing homes, there is no choice. They have to be licensed here in Michigan. But if it's assisted living or adult foster care home, what I mean by assisted living homes for the aged, they can choose to be licensed.
So when you say assisted living, now they're not ambulatory. They're able to get up and walk around, and they have community rooms there where they can watch TV together outside of their rooms, or they can congregate with other residents that are in that facility?
So your basic assisted living might almost look like a independent living apartment. Each person will have their own room. If they're licensed, then there are rules in terms of what the provider must provide to each person, and that is a contract of services. There is a communal dining in the area. There's also, sometimes there's dementia care units in those facilities, but it doesn't, those places doesn't have as many rules as a nursing home, but they do provide services, healthcare services, as far as like helping with bathing and showering and those kinds of things. And sometimes it's a la carte, where a person may have to pay per service, but the gap to that is that they do not have to have a licensed registered nurse or LPN on duty.
So at what point should a person want to put their loved one in a nursing care facility?
So I think it just really depends on what services you think that their loved one need, and what is really the realistic what the family can do in terms of what, if they have to work a lot. Some folks have to work a lot and they really don't have the capacity or the finances to take care of this person at home, because home care is very expensive, as well as nursing homes are very expensive as well. And sometimes people need much more hands-on care in terms of what the nursing home provides. Some folks need 24-hour service, which means that they have someone there all the time in case they need some sort of help management, medication management, those kinds of things that might happen with that person, or just help with bathing. But also there's the transition program where folks can bring their loved ones homes, and basically it's called a nursing home without walls. And so
You said nursing home without walls?
yes,
Okay.
where some of those same nursing home services can be provided in the home as well, so they can get help with activities of daily living, bathing, showering. They can get meals. They can get a nurse to come out and provide some sort of nursing services to them, skilled care services. It's just not in a nursing home.
So now, if a person was trying to decide, we've got a few minutes left, but if a person is trying to decide what type of a nursing facility, or the proximity of a nursing facility from where they live at, or something like that, where they could go visit, is there a directory, or what should they do if they're interested in trying to place their loved one in a nursing facility? What should they do? Is there like a yellow pages or a directory or something?
There is a directory. It's not a yellow pages. It's called Nursing Home Compare, and it's through Medicare.gov website. So any person can Google Nursing Home Compare, and they can look at nursing homes across the state, also across the United States. They can filter it by radius, 25-mile radius. They can look at the 5 stars, 1 star not being so great and 5 stars being the best, but you also want to talk to families and loved ones, and it's reports also that is located on that website, Nursing Home Compare. So there's a lot of information there. It takes time to digest, and so I suggest folks go there first.
Say it again. Say it again.
Nursing Home
Okay.
Compare.
Nursing Home Compare. Okay.
Yes.
And if a person wanted to get in contact with your office about anything that we talked about on the show today, what is your website, or do you have a email address that somebody, if they wanted to get in contact with you to find out more information about what an ombudsman does?
Sure. So anyone can reach an ombudsman. We are located throughout the state, and so we have a 1-866 number. It's 1-866-485-9393, and anyone can reach us at www.mltcop.org, or you can type in Michigan Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, or you can contact us at 1-866-485-9393.
Is there anything that we didn't cover? We covered a lot, and I'm going to have you back on the show again to cover some more. But is there anything else that you would like to say to our audience pertaining to alleviating the fears that some people may have, like when them, with people seeing that news story this morning, or worried about the care or the love that the person might get if they're in a nursing care facility. What can you say to kind of alleviate some of the fears that people have in the few minutes we have left?
Okay, I think it's really important for families and legal representatives to schedule care conferences with the staff. You can ask anyone to be there, the administrator, the dietary, the nursing staff, and really look at what's happening and ask to review the care plan. And that's if your loved one wants that to happen. And so I would definitely get that right away, a care conference, and also make those care conferences as often as possible. Sometimes they can't be as long as you want them to be, but at least schedule the first one for an hour and then do like review updates every 3 to 4 weeks. Just touch in and see how things going, any medication changes. And talk to your loved one often and have other folks call. And so just try to be as involved as you can.
Now, if a person was incontinent, their floors, because I know that's something that I know. I've gone to nursing care facilities, and I know they have a floor that doesn't have the carpet, on the floor. If they have a patient that may be incontinent, which means the person cannot hold their water in their bladder. But is that something that's in all nursing facilities?
In terms of the carpet?
Right. In terms of, say, they have a floor that's just for patients that could be incontinent.
Oh.
And then also the other question, we have 1 minute left.
Okay.
You mentioned about hospice.
Yeah.
That may be another question I want you to answer real quick. When you say hospice, what determines, explain what hospice care is in 1 minute real quick.
Hospice care is really when a person is at the end of life, 6 months, but also it could be a way to bridge some of the gap services for that person who might meet the hospice criteria. So I would say that folks would have to contact their hospice provider and find out, if their person may be eligible, the resident may be eligible for hospice services. Some folks that might have dementia care might be eligible for hospice services.
And now, do you also have is there, let's say, a floor that may have patients that could be, in terms, say, with dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that?
Sometimes, yes, it depends on the provider. So you might have a nursing home that might have what's called a locked unit, where everyone has to have a code to get in and out. And some, you may have more of an integrated community where there is no lock unit. But about the floors, I'm not sure about the floors in terms of the design component of that, in terms of what the providers, if they choose carpet or not carpet based on a person's incontinence. But if that is happening in terms of incontinence, then there are training programs that the nursing staff should be able to help with.
Okay, great. I really appreciate it. We're going to have you back on, Ms. Jackson. You've been a great guest, and I think that if there were questions that people have, please, I'll have to let everybody know when you're coming back on again, so that we can make sure that we get those questions answered, by people as well. I do want to thank Ms. Jackson for coming on the show. One of the words that you learned today was ombudsman. So you said that was a what word? It's a Swedish word. Okay. And so I do want to thank R.J. Watkins and thank Henry Tyler for allowing us this half an hour. Again, you've been watching Expose Under the Sun with my special guest, Takima Jackson. And if you'd like to advertise in the Detroit Native Sun newspaper, you can contact Ms. Valerie Lockhart. The phone number is 313-457-5944, and you can also pick up a copy of the Detroit Native Sun newspaper at your local Kroger supermarket. But again, I do want to say visit Belle Isle, visit the memorial that they're doing down there, and also to the family. Our condolences and our sympathies go out to the family of Chadwick Boseman. Again, stay safe, observe your social distancing. Peace. Have a great week.